Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions regarding this watch. And today we're discussing a Rolex certified pre-owned Oyster Perpetual Submariner Date, a model originally launched as you see it here back at Basel World 2009. This is the Submariner 116613LB for Lunette Bleue. It is in Rolesor, which is Rolex's term for the coincidence of gold and 904L stainless steel. So this is yellow gold and 904L stainless steel. It should be noted that this dial variant was made from 2009 until Rolex decided to make an about-face in 2013 and return the sunburst metallic blue dial that had characterized the two-tone sub since the 1980s. This one has the gloss blue that many associate with the solid gold subs, and it perfectly matches the gloss blue of the Cerachrom ceramic bezel insert. So jumping right out into the test zone now, you can see in my hands, 40 millimeters in diameter. The watch is reasonably thin, all things considered. When you look at it in profile, it is one of the thinnest dive watches you will ever encounter, at least full-blown automatic 300-meter dive watches, only 12.7 millimeters thick. From lug tip to lug tip, 48.1. From end link to end link, the total distance across the wrist is 51.1 millimeters, and we've got a 20 millimeter spacing in between the lugs. We'll pop open the clasp here, and we'll throw it on my wrist, and as I always do, I'll remove my glove for a moment so you can actually see my wrist and judge the relative size of the watch. Now, of course, this generation of sub, the 6-digit of the modern era, there was a 6-digit in the 80s, but when we talk about the 6-digit of the modern era, we speak of this super case. Sheer sides, no bevels, squared off lugs. It's still a 40, but it wears larger, and it certainly looks larger, though it's not a problem on my 16-centimeter circumference wrist. So you could see that. I've got a little bit of clearance on each side. I think you could wear this just fine on a wrist as small as 15 centimeters circumference, maybe even 14 if your wrist is very flat across the top like mine. Now, I mentioned it's thin, and it is. It'll slide underneath most sleeves, just about all dress cuffs, and every single jacket. Looking over the top, you can see the lugs are still well inboard of the edge of my wrist, okay? Take it off my wrist. I'll put my glove back on to keep everything Rolex standard. This is a Rolex certified pre-owned watch, and what's nice about Rolex certified pre-owned is you can get almost everything from late model watches, 2 to 3 years old, to things made as far back as the 1950s and 60s. This is not yet a vintage timepiece, but it definitely has the calling card of a discontinued model, which is this gloss dial, and a lot of people at the time were clamoring for the metallic blue dial, the so-called bluesy combination of yellow gold stainless steel and the metallic blue dial. But once you couldn't get this dial, the gloss lacquer, people started asking for it again. So just keep that in mind. I think this is a really cool look, and while not yet vintage, it's discontinued, not available, and thus desirable on a level that is difficult to understand, as most people did not want it when it was new. It is that much more desirable now that it is gone. So we have a conforming end link that mates the bracelet to the case. We have a taper down towards the clasp. You can see Oyster style 3-link sports bracelet, polished centers in yellow gold, all solid links, polished outer faces, shoulders in satin. We have removable links that are fixed by screws, and you can see that on both sides of the clasp. Taking a quick look now, we have a feature characteristic of the 6-digit generation of subs that debuted in 2008, and this is one of the best features of a modern Submariner or Sea Dweller, glide lock. 20 millimeters of incremental adjustment in 2 millimeter increments. You can fine tune if you wish, moving a little bit, or pull it out all the way if you wish, for example, to use it over a dive suit or a thick winter coat. But you have everything from those little increments to the full extension of 20 millimeters, so it gives you a lot of sizing flexibility, but also if you want to use it over a dive suit, wet or dry, or even a thick winter coat in cold weather when high and dry, there's a lot of versatility in that glide lock system. Now you can also see here, we've got a spring-loaded lift lock with a beak. There's a corresponding hook in the clasp. That is the first lock. That will actually keep it shut, but to be sure tight, Rolex adds the clamshell. Now, there's a little kerf to dig my nail in underneath the clamshell. Makes it easier to open it up, even with gloved hands. It's quite user-friendly. We have here a triplock crown in gold. You know that because it has 3 dots, but the center dot is the largest. When combined with the screwed-in Oyster case back, we get 300-meter water resistance. The case is made of 904L stainless steel, which is a high nickel content steel that Rolex uses and has used since the 80s. It's particularly resistant to corrosion in the sense that if it is exposed to sweat or sea salt, if you fail to rinse it, it will not corrode. Conventional watchmaking stainless steel 316 will actually corrode if you continuously leave raw salts and certain types of industrial acids on the metal. With the 904L, not a problem. You can see that the knurling on the bezel is sharp and a pleasure to grip. It is a combination of polish and satin, and it's a very refined, smooth, and precise 120-click unidirectional action. So you line that sapphire-capped bezel pearl up with the minute hand. Now you have a 0 to 60-minute count-up timer. The bezel insert is Cerachrom ceramic, so highly scratch-resistant. We have PVD, physical vapor deposition of gold inside these indices and calibrations, so it's not going to tarnish or discolor with time, and it can always be cleaned off. Taking a quick look at how all this appears in the dark, you can see it's Rolex's proprietary dusk till dawn chromolite luminescence, which glows distinctively blue, and you can see that all 3 hands are luminescent, so you know even if you're diving in limited light conditions that your backup dive timer, the watch, is in fact running. By the way, I love dive bezels compared to chronographs because I find they're easier to read, more natural if you're going to time something that's more than 30 minutes but less than 60, because let's face it, most chronographs only give you a 30-minute register. Also, you don't have the downstream maintenance costs that you would have with a chronograph when you have a dive bezel. The dial, of course, is the distinctive feature of this watch. Glossy blue, what I've always liked is that the dial perfectly matches the bezel. Yes, they would eventually go back to metallic blue, but it seemed a little bit incongruous to me. This always seemed like the most organic version of the design, and first drafts are usually the best drafts. Taking a look at the dial now, the hands and the indices are all gold, so again, they won't discolor. We have a Cyclops eye magnifier over the date, which is always handy for reading it, especially at an arm's length. We have a hacking seconds function, so you could stop the movement and set it precisely to a reference time, instantaneous jumping date. We also have a quick set mechanism, so you could rapidly cycle the date if you need to do so. Rolex uses a wonderful and very serify font there. Inside the case, Rolex manufactured caliber 3135. Bidirectional automatic winding, 48-hour power reserve, 31 joules, 4 hertz, hacking seconds, quick set date, COSC chronometer certified, 5-position adjusted. It has a full balance bridge with a free sprung balance for shock resistance, and it has an overcoil hairspring shaped by hand, Breguet profile, so it is isochronous or a even consistent timekeeper in any physical orientation with regard to gravity. So in that respect, it has a lot of refinements. A consistent timekeeper in any position, a tested chronometer, the full balance bridge with the free sprung balance. The adjustments are done using Rolex's microstella variable inertia nuts on the balance itself. And as a result, even if it's shocked, the timing of the watch cannot be changed by a concussion, a shock, or a vibration. That is the real benefit of the free-sprung architecture, and there is lots to love with this watch and its movement. An all-time classic. Rolex is the Submariner. The Submariner is Rolex. Dating back to 1953, the most influential dive watch in the history of dive watches, the most influential genre in the history of luxury watches. And again, a 48-hour power reserve with lots to love. This watch, I suppose I should ask, when was it made? Well, this is a G series, so made in 2010. Reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing details. Rolex certified pre-owned watches are backed and authenticated by Rolex. Should any reconditioning be necessary, it will be to a Rolex certified standard, and any parts invested Rolex factory original. Should the initial retail box, paper, and accessory set still accompany the watch, it will be included with the sale. But no matter what, a certified pre-owned box and paper set starts with an outer box, a leatherette travel pouch with suede lining, a warranty card that embodies the 2-year globally valid Rolex-backed warranty. Note, this is not a retail retail warranty but backed by Rolex and actionable at any of its authorized points of sales and service. A leatherette wallet includes the warranty terms and conditions manual. A holographic hang tag marks this as a certified pre-owned Rolex watch, and a manual details Rolex's values as a company. The certified pre-owned program, care, feeding, service, and use of your Rolex, locations of points of sales and service, and details of Rolex.com. Rolex certified pre-owned watches are backed only by Rolex.